we want to talk about the one thing that keeps me in check when it comes to dealing with everyday stuff that comes up, whether it's within me or around me. But let's talk about one of the things that we do, that you and I do well, and we've learned how to do because it's not a natural thing. It's gratitude. And what that is even all about. Because coming from the coaching world, I'm not sure from the healing spiritual world, but the coaching world, oh boy, do these coaches ever push gratitude. All these exercises on gratitude. And, the whole repeating repetition of, I'm so happy and grateful for da, da, da. And we're told to repeat it 100 times a day. And I'm thinking, and I'm seeing all these robots in the world. It's like, what is that series called? The Walking Dead? Everybody is just walking and saying it over and over and over again, but there's nothing happening in their life that is showing anything good. So, Nancy, how do you work with gratitude?
Well, I do use rituals for gratitude, a lot of meditations, and even just a journal can make a difference. Just like the ultimate prayer could be thank you, thanking your creator for the gift of life. Like just the simplest things. I think we've overcomplicated it in some ways. But I mean, we can talk about how it's pushed upon people, but it's so powerful. So I see why, because it actually can heal you to feel gratitude and to express gratitude. So I think a lot of people feel like when they're repeating it, they're not even believing it, not feeling it. And that's where they're missing out. But they have the intention, of course. It's a good intention. All the coaches, I'm sure they have good intentions to implement this in their programs with people, of course. But if you're just saying it, but not kind of taking the time to just be present with each statement, even placing your hand over your heart can bring you into your heart so you can feel it, and it will magnetize more. It will raise your frequency more. But even just saying it does raise your frequency somewhat. It's the effort, it's the intention, that effort. It is a beginning. But when you can be present with it and actually really feel the gratitude and be more grateful for people and experiences than things, things are fine. They add to your life, whatever, like your car or your plane or whatever it is. But the most meaningful things are what we need to start with. That's how I feel. It's like the simplest things, but the most important, like the people in our lives, the nature around us, the food on our table, the clothes on our back, the roof over our head, like the things that we often take for granted. And when we're present with those in our heart and realize just how lucky and blessed we are, lucky, a lot of people don't like that word, but how blessed we really are to have the basics of life. A lot of people don't have that. So when you present with each statement and take your time with it, it's more impactful. But when you're just saying it, it's not reaching that level, that frequency that it could when you're in your heart and feeling it and picturing who and what you're grateful for in your life. So to me, it's a great intention. It's a beautiful part of programs that people offer, and it changes your life. You can sleep better, you raise your frequency, you can heal your heart, you can heal relationships, your relationship with yourself, your outlook on life. Like, it's powerful. Gratitude is a gift, but you have to do it where you feel it and you'll be more impacted. It's great to have the intention. I don't bash anyone for implementing that, that's for sure. I think it's amazing, but it's to not be a robot, to be a human and to feel.
Absolutely. Here's the Cambridge definition of gratitude, right? Let's push in the definition of it. It's a strong feeling of appreciation to someone or something for what that person has done to help you, or what you've gotten from something or someone. And it's just that great show of appreciation. When I give people gratitude exercises, it's not for them to get it, because I could tell you one thing, in my world, 90% of people are doing gratitudes wrongly, because one of the things, everything that we do, I impose the intention behind it first, because we're living in a robotic world, right? Of listening to what everybody else is doing. It's almost like we don't have a thinking mind of our own anymore. Mm-hmm. And why we're even doing these gratitude, because I bring in the 3 Fs, and I work with people on this a lot. The 3 Fs: fake, forced, and for real. Which one are you doing, right? Because there's forced gratitude. I've seen forced gratitude. It's like, I should be grateful for my kids. but then why am I not feeling it? I should be grateful for my husband, but why am I not feeling it? I should be grateful for the food I have on the table. So why am I not feeling
Yeah.
it?
People shit all over themselves regularly about everything, all the time. Yeah.
That's force. So how do we turn force to real, for real? Fake, number one, the fake is like on another level, right? That's not for
Yeah.
the gratitude, but the gratitude, what I've commonly seen is forced gratitude exercise or for real. Here are the things that I want to just push forward for everybody as a tool for them to bring that gratitude to the next level. Because that's what we're here for, right,
Yeah.
Nancy? We're just
Absolutely.
giving people tips and just revealing the blind spot, because I don't think people are really realizing that they're forcing it, or they're not even realizing that they're doing it wrongly. And then they spend every day wondering why gratitude is not
Yeah.
working.
No, it's true. Absolutely. You can't force anything. You can try, but if you slow down and feel, be in your heart. That's why I always tell people breathe in your heart and put your hand over. You can't help but go into your heart. At least start. And the more you do it, the better it gets. Then the less force.
But that's good thing though, when you're doing the exercise of the hand to the heart, because you're bringing it to your physical form now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you
When
need
you're putting
that. You
your
need
hand,
it in your being to feel
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So feeling it is critical, feeling the gratitude. So here's one tip that I use, because I am really in the physical realm. I think I'm so grounded that you'd have to really take a crane and lift me off the ground. Like I'm just disgustingly grounded to the point where my husband's like, can you just float it just a little bit for me? Do you have to?
That-
So real, right?
That's good because I have to do grounding meditations. Like I need to be in my body because my right brain will bring me like the creative mode and like I have to do it. I have to be present to ground myself. So yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. You're lucky.
Well,
So,
that's why you and I have to work in tangent for
yeah,
to
we work well
really,
together.
yeah, to really amplify this whole thing to the world en masse. Because
Yes.
the one-on-one and one by one person, our world is suffering greater than we can ever imagine right now. So we really do have to combine my ultra groundedness with your floatiness, because we need to float. I mean, I can't even believe my body is still operating at the optimal at the rate I'm going. But
You're so
one
funny.
of, one of the things is I go cycle gratitude, is how to take it to the next level is I am always turning that gratitude to how I made that happen. So let's say, for example, I am so grateful for my 23-year-old stepson who is doing amazing, who is about to graduate university. And I am so grateful for him because of how I have chosen to rear him, how I've chosen to put him through the path that he did, with his mindset, with the healing work, with anything that I've done. It was me that created this relationship.
Yeah.
And so I always turn it back to me, to celebrate me. Okay, fine. You could call that self-serving, you could call that self-centered, but whatever works, because a lot of women are going to feel like, well, that's a little bit how we are, right? The women.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't do that. Like I don't like with my son, I just feel like his soul is so wise and intelligent that he's been too easy to raise. Like so I'm like, I just guide him, but he's guiding me too. Like I learned so much from him, but yeah, I don't I remember being at a Tony event and Trish, you probably know Trish, she's so incredible, but we were at this event, Luke and Brady and myself, and she was talking about him to me and she's like, oh my God, your son just blows me away. He's so amazing. I said, oh, I'm so blessed to have him. Like, I can't believe he chose me to be his mom. And she said, Nancy, you're doing such a great job. You're such a good mom. And I teared up and she's like, you are making a difference for him. And I'm like, well, I know, but, and then I teared up. I'm like, oh my gosh, because we don't take that in, right? Like, I never ever think he's this way because of me. Like, I love him to pieces. I probably maul him too much. So it's a good point you're making because I don't do that.
And
Learning here too.
Yeah, well, you know what? And this is the thing, right? Well, that's because I take everything on steroids and just go
Which is
forward.
good.
But it is because it's when do we have the privilege of celebrating ourselves, right? I mean, for okay, my stepson brings me a lot more than I bring him. I'm sure I don't know, but if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the person I am today. He's enabled me to work through those triggers. Being a stepmom or a mom, it is our worst trigger. Every fear, every
Oh,
faith
yeah.
button, everything. Oh yeah, our self-talk, our self-doubt, it just brings everything up. And
Yeah.
because you're dealing with an innocent child.
Yes. Your sun rises and sets on them. Like the sun, not your sun, the sun. It's everybody's sun. But yeah, it rises and sets on them. It's, and when you've had trauma in your life, it's like you're so protective. Like I'm super protective of all the kids in the neighborhood. I'm always looking out the window and what's that car doing? Or, like just so with him, yeah, I definitely, always looking out for them because yeah, your biggest fears do come forward. So it's great to be in a state of gratitude more than fear. What's more empowering.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's also the fact that he is the way he is because of you, and a combination of you and Luke, of course, but
Yeah.
because of you. Let's just look at ourselves for a second, never mind everybody else, because everybody contributes to whoever we are, right?
Yeah, of course.
But you could have been a different mom. Free will dictates that you could have been a different mom that could have affected him, right,
Yeah.
in a different way. So that's why I'm always grateful that our free will allowed us to choose the hardest way, the right way,
Yeah.
whatever way, without being constantly in ourselves, and
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to work through our own demons, our own shadows, our own everything, so that person, that child, can have the best life that he can have,
Yeah.
because our traumas could have come right in between there.
Oh, absolutely. That's true. Yeah. Big way. I definitely, when I found out, well, when I chose to even try to get pregnant, I was like, I'm going to start doing more work on myself because I need to be at my best for the child I'm going to have. So that's when I started doing a lot more shadow work and everything. I went deeper. But yeah. And, there's always layers that come up. So for everybody. So never done, not perfect. But yeah.
No, you know what? I mean, hey, trauma is trauma. We get triggered
Yeah.
everywhere. We get triggered if we go to the coffee shop and I'm not joking, I got triggered at Tim Hortons not too long ago, but I asked for a half of cream, just a half of cream, like, because they pressed a button, right? They could go half.
Yeah.
She gave me a whole half cup of
Oh,
cream.
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So I think I was tired that day anyways, and I got triggered that I'm not being understood or heard. If somebody is not present to me, or that triggers me. I've had to work through that to not be heard or seen. But I think a lot of our world is suffering from that, not being heard or
Yeah.
seen or understood. But no, then after that, I got triggered and I was just about to rip. And then I said, no, I'm just grateful that I even have a chance to come have a coffee and
Yeah.
whatever. And that I chose to just take a break to go have a coffee somewhere and sit down. I mean, this gratitude thing is huge
Yeah.
because the intention behind, and here's the thing, the other steroid step, and then we could talk about how you implement gratitude and how you really make things happen with it. But I definitely set intentions with everything I do, even the gratitude, if it's my gratitudes every day, all day long. But my intention is to keep my frequency high so that
Mhm.
I can attract the things that I desire, not
Yes,
what I don't want.
exactly. Huge. Focus on what you want, not what you don't. Absolutely. Letting go and letting God, like a lot of people get caught up in things and they waste their energy on it. So it's hard to be in a state of gratitude when you're in a state of resentment or bitterness or fear. Like it just, yeah, it's almost impossible, really. So gratitude is love. It's all stemming from that.
Do you live with gratitude 24/7? Is that just a regular muscle? Because a lot of people that are starting out with trying to get their life back in order in using gratitude. It's just sort of a mantra that they're doing, right? Every day. It's an effort. It's a tool, and they have to wake up and remind themselves that they have to do their gratitudes and so on. But for somebody like you, I'm sure it's within your being already.
It is, but I'm not perfect. I have to remind myself sometimes when I'm, say, annoyed by my husband, or you know what I mean? Like I'm like, just trying to remember just what I'm grateful for and the reasons I'm grateful for him. If he does something and I'm like, why can't he ever just stop doing that? I'm human. I'm absolutely human, but I am very grateful. Like, I mean, right now I'm taking care of my mom and she hasn't been well with her blood pressure and stuff. And I am so grateful. Like, people ask me, oh my God, you must be tired. Oh my God, you must be burnt out. And I'm not at all. Like, I'm not tired. I'm not burnt out. I'm really passionate about what we're doing together. I'm passionate about serving, and I'm passionate about helping her and spoiling her. Like, she's not someone who's ever been able to really receive in life. She's always been a giver and never did anything for her. So I get to do things for her. I get to do things. And that's where gratitude can really sink into your being, is when you realize you don't have to do something, you get to do something. Some people can't do this. Some people have to put their parents in a home because they're working elsewhere. They're not working from home or from a clinic where they can bring their parent or whatever. Like, I get to take care of her, and I get to feed her healthy food, and I get to put cream on her feet, or I get to vacuum because I have arms and legs. I'm not in a wheelchair, or I get to make food for my family. It's not having to. And that's a big thing for me, is that's what keeps me in a state of gratitude more, is realizing I get to do them. I don't have to. And that's been a big lesson that I learned years ago. It just made a big difference for me, because as women, we tend to do so much. We're multitaskers and we're go, 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 take care of everybody. But when we realize that we get to do those things, and it's a blessing, it's a gift, gratitude is just natural for the most part throughout your day. And I often thank God. I thank our Creator, because, you wake up in the morning, you have another breath. My mom's still here. My son is healthy and happy. My son's not in a wheelchair. My son is not, struggling with anything, stuff like that. We live on the river. I get to feed the ducks. Like, there's so many little things that you get to be grateful for. And it's a big deal, just realizing those little things. But it's more, what helps me most is when I realize that it's the people. The people are the number one thing. The people I get to serve, the people I get to love, the friends, the support, just a stranger on the street that you smile at and they receive that. You feel gratitude in your heart because you know that they felt seen, and maybe they were on their last breath practically because they've been so fed up in life. So it's like those little things that you get to make a difference somehow. You get to connect with someone, you look in their eyes. A homeless person on the street, you get to do something for them. It's the littlest things, people. I don't know. I could get really passionate about that, but the biggest thing for me is waking up in the morning and starting with that thank you to the Creator. Thank you, God. And, I have a journal where I write things sometimes. I don't do it every day. I'm often voicing it so much and feeling it in my heart, in my being, that I don't really journal all the time. But I do like to journal. And some people really find journaling is a big deal. So I encourage you to journal, but I also encourage you to say the things out loud that you're grateful for. Put a voice to them. And when you put a voice to them, put your hand over your heart and visualize each thing. It could be 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things. But if you're feeling them and visualizing them, it's so much more impactful than just reciting them. Reciting them does raise your vibration, of course, because words have a frequency and intention has a frequency. But, if you're just lying there, even in bed at night, and you're about to write a few things down, you could think about what made you happy that day, or who smiled at you, or who lifted your spirits that day. Simple things, and write it down and really just say it out loud. Place your hand over your heart, take 3 breaths in between each one at least, and just be present. It's about being mindful and present. And that's going to raise your love consciousness to another level. Like, just being in your heart at all raises your love consciousness dramatically. It's like the biggest deal. Like, I don't know. I could go on, but it's simple.
Yeah, you have a point, because the imaginary mind is the portal to our feelings and heart.
Yeah.
Not just our words, of course, you're right, it has frequency.
Everything has a frequency. Yeah.
Of course.
Everything.
But where do those words come from is the important part to really understand. And I really love describing mechanisms and how things work, because if
Yeah.
you understood how they work, then they can work it without
Yeah.
being a robot or without taking an instruction from a coach or a
Yeah.
mindset person or from a teacher or whatever. But one of the things is our words need to come from our thinking mind, which means if our thinking mind is gone into the imaginary side, which is powerful, visualization and imagination is
Huge.
beautiful.
And using all of your senses, your
Yes,
visualization with what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're feeling temperature wise, texture wise, like all of those senses, using all of them is powerful.
absolutely. So when you go into that imaginary mind, and believe me, as I'm not the most, because I'm not floaty, because I'm like anchored on the ground, to imagine is kind of, it took a lot of work. I'm not like Nancy, who is just sitting there and she could just go into this fantasy land of beautiful love
Fantasy
sprinkles
land.
all.
All unicorns, and no, it's not all unicorns and rainbows, but I know what you're saying.
I think you could naturally go there a lot faster than I can.
It's fast. Yeah, it's fast, but yeah, being grounded is not as easy for me. So so you have that. So thank you.
Well, that's okay. Then thank you for like giving me these sprinkles. But I have to actually go into and imagine it. So that's my exercise when I used to work into the gratitude thing, because I'm my issue is I've always been a high achiever. And it's one of these people that go, go, go from the age of young. It's something that I'm born with. But the problem with high achievers, though, a huge problem, something I had to work through, is never being enough. And so gratitude was really important to anchor me in to appreciate and be present. And I'm telling you now, being present, honey, no, that is something that I swear I had to learn big time. Thank goodness I chose a partner who is ultra present, to the point where he's so present in the woods that deer come up to him. Because
Oh,
deer
love
sense
that.
energy,
They
right?
do. All animals do, yeah. And
Well,
deer are usually skittish, right?
I don't see animals. And my husband's like, I don't want to work in the woods with you, because every time I go with you, somehow you repel animals.
That's funny. Ah, that's funny.
You know why? Because even when we hike, we're avid hikers. We could hike a whole day. And so when we go hiking, he would be like, "Did you see that? Did you see that, toad?" I'm like, "No." Or he'd be like, "Did you see that chickadee?" "No." "Did you see those
Really?
two
You don't
ducks?"
notice? You don't see
"No."
them? I see them. I'm always stopping like every 2 minutes when we're hiking, hugging the trees like crazy. Luke gets so annoyed. He's like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, my
It takes
husband
me
hikes.
3 hours to do a 40-minute hike.
My husband too, and I'm always annoyed. I'm like, okay, can we just get moving? And he would stop and he would touch the tree. He'd be hugging the tree. He'd be,
Yes.
oh yeah, he's a big tree hugger. And I'd be like, can we just? I have time to make here. I need to make it up in 3 hours this time, because I'm trying to beat time. And he's taught me how to just slow down. Where
That's
the
good. That's so important.
And so I've had to really be grateful for him, because otherwise I could steamroll him. And that's the problem
Yeah.
with high achievers. They don't appreciate anything because they're on to the next thing. So they're proud of themselves for 5 seconds and then they're on to the next thing. Isn't that terrible? Like, it's so terrible for
We
me.
all have something to work on. Like I could hike for 6 hours. If a 40-minute hike could take me forever, just because I'm obsessed with all the animals and trees, and I'm in awe sometimes, like the way the sun's coming in on the trail. And like it's Luke's like that too. And so like Brady, but yeah, definitely I can get annoying for sure. I would drive you nuts probably, but at least your husband, he's got a good balance with you, it's meant to be, obviously.
Oh
You
yeah,
guys
I've had to learn this early on, because he couldn't take the competition. He couldn't take, like, he wasn't enjoying his hikes anymore, because
uh,
I mean, our hikes, he would be counting how many toads we see on that trip, right?
I love toads too. Like every bird, I'm like, oh my God, there's a woodpecker. Oh my God. Like I haven't seen them before. Like give me a break, right? I totally get it. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, when
So
he's
beautiful.
oh yeah, I'm telling you, I can't wait till you meet Kevin because he gets excited like as if it's like the greatest thing on earth when he sees a pileated woodpecker, right?
They're so amazing.
And I'm like, and now he's got me loving and obsessed by it. Like I'm like, look, there's Woody. He's
Oh,
on a wood
good.
pile. Yeah, no,
I love
and
that. That's
yeah,
beautiful. Good.
yeah, and I'm learning to. I've learned so much about nature. I didn't. The only tree I knew was maple. By when I met him, I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about birds. I thought they were all the same. And
Oh,
now I'm like obsessed with birds because they're married for life.
oh, they're so precious. I love having coffee with birds. Like we have lots of birds in the backyard and ducks and balloons on the river. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so fascinating, but it's dangerous because I'll go out for coffee early in the morning. Then I'm like, I don't want to go in. I don't want to go back in the house, but they're just so beautiful. I can listen to them all day. Like, but yeah, why we took the hammock in because I could just lie in the hammock and listen. And I pretend I'm working in the hammock, but then I get distracted because there's something flying by or yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing, but it can get so distracting.
It is. And I think learning to be grateful as a high achiever, I've
Yeah.
had to learn to not focus on what I am not. I had to
Yeah.
learn to not focus on what I haven't achieved yet, because that breaks gratitude. This, if you
Oh,
really want to break gratitude, keep focusing on what you haven't done and what you're not good enough at.
that's the ego, of course, right? Stealing that. So
Yeah. So it's always forcing
mm,
ourselves in celebration all the time. And that's why I celebrate everything. Every single thing I'll celebrate. Even the bad things, I don't care because I've learned to understand, and I think you understand this as well, because you're really good at this, is every it's like the things happen for us, not to us, but not in a spiritual bypassing way.
no, no, no. You learn that as you process. You have to process the emotions and the
Yeah,
pain to understand
absolutely.
it, which isn't fun. You know. No.
No, to ground into the pain so that
Yes.
we can work through it is a really important thing. But that's another gratitude I have, that I've chosen to do that work so that I can be grounded for the people that are not. If we're in the work of coaching or healing or any spiritual light working type of work, we need to be grounded for our clients who are not. We can't all be ungrounded.
No, no, we have to be grounded. It's something I always do before serving, whether it's a coaching session or a healing session or anything, a talk. I have to ground myself. Absolutely. Like, and the more you do it, the more you are grounded without having to remember to ground yourself. But I used to be like right brain, out of the body all the time, practically. Like it was like just a way of life until I realized why I couldn't be in my body. And then I started doing the grounding processes. And after you do them more frequently, it just becomes natural for you. You don't have to work at it so hard. So yeah, but when you're in your body, then you can truly feel the gratitude. When you're flighty and out, right brain, out in outer space somewhere in the galaxy, you can't feel that gratitude so much. And a lot of people are in that state of being out of the body because of trauma, because of wounds or pain in the body or whatever it is. So grounding and then doing your gratitude exercises can make a world of difference. Doing the grounding first, oh my gosh, and then being in your heart, and oh my goodness, huge, makes a huge difference.
One thing that I've noticed with you that you're really good at, and I'm sure you've had to work this skill because it's not a skill that is intuitive, with life and traumatic moments in our life that affect our physiology, it's not easy to ground and be attached to the heart at the same time. What I've noticed in certifying coaches or working with coaches and mentoring coaches, one of the things is they ground, but they ground so much that they're not tethered with their heart anymore, and then they get judgmental. But they're pretending they're not judgmental, or they're not even aware that they're no, they are. The people that I work with, they're very aware.
Some are aware and some aren't. Like I even catch myself sometimes. I'm like, as if I just had that thought. You know what I mean? Like once in a while. It's not like, when you're younger or whatever, but no, we're human. Yeah, we're human. But I think Yeah. There are some, of course, that view themselves up here and the clients down here. It's like, so yeah, that doesn't work for me. When people are,
And nobody wants to admit to that. Nobody even wants to see that in ourselves. I mean, that's not something that we are totally aware of and then accept,
no,
especially not if we're working as coaches and helping people. The last thing we want to accept or even admit is that we're judgmental of that person in front of us. But one of the things about grounding, and this is something that really you can learn from Nancy, everybody who's listening, is ground, but at the same time, feel.
yes.
And that's a hard part because people ground so much. It's like now they're like so real that they're forgetting that there's a compassionate component
Yeah.
to connecting with another human being. We
That's
forget the compassion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It can be easy to do that because we're so in our heads these days, too, right? We're always stimulated by something, overstimulation everywhere. So being in our heart can be very hard for people because they're always up here, fight or flight mode. We're living on autopilot. Well, how can you be present in your heart when you're just constantly on autopilot and, trying to make it through the day, trying to survive? It's hard to be in the heart when you're going through that regularly. So it's a big deal to learn that, and it'll become natural. You start doing it, it'll become more natural for you. Absolutely. And it can be scary to go in the heart when you have pain there and grief in there. It's freaking scary for people. Or if you feel you're not worthy, you're not enough, you've been abused in your life, whatever it is, it's terrifying to be in your heart at times because there's pain there that you don't want to feel. We run towards pleasure or busyness. We busy ourselves to not feel pain.
Yeah. So I think the best way to do this, and it's not for somebody to always try to figure out on their own. It's not something that, I mean, I've had to have help to learn how to be grateful. I literally, I was so not present and so on the go that it was hard for me to be grateful in a real way. But because I've chosen to be married to somebody that kept reminding me of all the stuff that is good around me or all the stuff that is good about me. Thank goodness for that. I had that. Otherwise, how the heck am I supposed to know what I don't know? And
Yeah.
that's what I love what we're creating here, Nancy, is that we're creating that space where if you don't know what specifically you might need to be grateful for, well, come into the community and we will help you identify all the greatness within you. Like, what is there that you should be grateful? I could, you and I could see somebody's greatness much better than most people could see their own greatness. That's the whole point.
Oh, absolutely. Most people don't see what others can see in them. And like I have friends, or there's one friend in particular, he's my best friend, and I see him on stages. This guy's charismatic. He's got so much wisdom in him. He's never taken a coaching course. He's just super gifted. And people love him. And I've been telling him this since we were like 20, and he still hasn't done it. So I don't know if he ever will, but oh my goodness, that guy could work a room. Absolutely. But from his heart. And people don't even see that in him, but I do. I see it. He's like incredible. But yeah. And I've had tons of clients you see that they could do so many things, or that they are such pure love and they cry when you tell them. Like people don't see it. So hard on themselves. They cry. Oh my gosh. And then I'm crying with them. And they're like, oh my God, I'm making you cry. I'm like, no, it's good. It's all good. But oh, it's powerful. When they just hear it, one person believing in you can change your whole life. Just
I,
one person.
I truly believe that. So thank you for sharing that because that is important. Surround yourself with people that remind you of how amazing you are. And
Mhm.
anybody who doesn't, we have choices. But here's
Yes.
one thing before we let everybody go on this episode, because we can go on forever.
Yeah.
So I want to just leave everybody with one tip. If there's anything that we can do to change today going forward on gratitude, be grateful for the choices that you have, because we don't all have choice. Whether you think you do or not, we all have a choice.
Mhm.
It's a choice. If you're suffering because, I don't know, you're surrounded by people that keep taking from you, well, you have a choice to change that. But if
Yes.
you're stuck in that, it's also a choice to stay. So just be grateful for your choices. Just keep saying that to yourself. It's the only one thing that I am truly grateful for is the gratitude of choice. That's it in my life. And that enforces me to constantly be aware of, yeah, I do have a choice. I do have a choice. I do have a choice. And it's starting with that. Is there any gratitude, like the overarching gratitude that you have that you is constantly in you?
Oh yeah. Just gratitude for the creator breathing life in me and beating my heart and giving me another moment, another day, the chance to connect with people, to love people, to guide, to be with people that you love to be with. And that to me is huge. So just start with being grateful that you have a heartbeat, that you're breathing. And you don't have an extension cord. There's no extension cord doing this for you guys. Like, we have more faith in our cell phones than we do in our creator. So that connection to me is huge, huge. And you don't need a label for that. You don't have to have a label. We're all connected no matter what beliefs you have. And I would start with that. That's huge. Put your hand over your heart and breathe and go, oh my gosh, this is the biggest gift right here, because I get to live. I get to be human, and I get to be like the soul experiencing humanness. I get that gift. So I get to love the people I love, the people I serve. I get to love, and the birds I love, the trees I love to hug. You get to do all that. It's huge, right? So it all starts with the breath and the heartbeat for me, and that connection.
Well, I'm grateful that I get to work with the love sprinkle.
I'm grateful I get to work with a love hacker. You're amazing. You are so full of wisdom and love and truth. I adore you so much. Thank you.
Well,
So
let's end this talk with a lot of gratitude for so much that we have, and the gratitude of building this community that you and I are building, so we can help everybody just start celebrating everything that they are, not focusing on what they're not, and not focusing on how it compares to somebody else, but we all have gifts. And I can't wait till, we start working with people to help them identify their gifts.
yes, everybody has this. Beautiful.
All right. Well, Nancy, thank you so much. Love you so much.
I love you more.
And stay tuned, everybody. We will see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Love you all.
Love you.